All right, everybody, we are back here on Unpacking the Backpack. It's great for me this week. I am home as I'm recording. I'm actually home for the entire week, which is a rarity. My daughter, my youngest, is graduating on Friday, and then she will be taking her talents to the University of Oklahoma. Boomer sooner. That's a phrase I guess they use, but regardless, it is a great week to be a parent. But as we dive in, again, nuts and bolts, raw, uncut, no editing, that's how we roll here on Unpacking the Backpack. Today, I want to discuss, how we overcome the most dangerous phrase in education. But before I get to what I consider the most dangerous phrase, I kind of want to review some other ones. And yes, there might be a connection to the most dangerous phrase, but who knows? Maybe some of these will resonate with you. So, here are some phrases that really inhibit change, and then we'll kind of dive into the point behind this episode. So, here are some dangerous phrases. These kids can't ... Why is this dangerous? Because this phrase reflects deficit thinking and lowers expectations. It places limits on student potential based on assumptions about background, behavior, or ability, and often reinforces systemic inequities. These kids can't. We have to really look at why we might be saying that. Next phrase. We tried that already. Well, this is dangerous because it's often used to dismiss ideas without evaluating whether they were implemented effectively or supported over time. Innovation requires iteration, adaptation, and reflection, not one-time trials. Another dangerous phrase. It's not my job. Oh boy. This is dangerous because this mindset erodes collective responsibility. In successful schools, districts, and organizations, everyone plays a role in student success, whether it's academic support, behavior management, or cultural responsiveness. And we're going to keep rolling on. The next dangerous phrase, they are just not motivated. Oof. This is dangerous because it shifts the blame to students instead of examining how learning experiences might lack relevance, challenge, or support. It ignores the educator's role in creating engaging and meaningful learning environments. And one more before we get to the biggest one. That won't work for our kids. This is dangerous because this phrase shuts down evidence-based practices by presuming local exceptionalism. It dismisses research and replicable strategies without trying to adapt them to fit the context. Each of these phrases reflects a fixed mindset, discourages continuous improvement, and creates barriers to student-centered, equity-driven education. Replacing them with inquiry, curiosity, and collaboration can lead to more effective learning cultures. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because the most dangerous phrase in education creates ineffective learning cultures. So, in some cases, change has been hard to implement at scale, or at all, for that matter. Sometimes we're blinded by perceived success, as in the case for many high-performing school districts, schools, and systems that have high test scores. A question that typically will materialize is why to change if we're already doing so well. Success is often in the eye of the beholder, based on established criteria. This reason alone is why careful thought and attention have to be made as to how schools and educators are evaluated. not looking at other areas for improvement or growth for this reason alone, has placed many schools, districts, and organizations into perpetually sustaining the status quo. It goes without saying that this does not serve our learners or our employees well, as the new world of work requires much more than a high test score. So, as we're looking at this, there are many other contributing factors that inhibit the pursuit of meaningful change, such as time, finances, mandates, directives. However, there is another significant impediment to change that doesn't get as much focus as it should, and that is tradition. What this then morphs into is a mentality of, if it's not broken, why fix it? And that leads into the most dangerous phrase in education, in my opinion. The underlying reason for not changing can be chalked up to, that's the way we have always done it. And there you have it, everybody. Think about that. That often is the most dangerous phrase in education, because we have become so accustomed to our routines, becoming comfortable, as I talked about in the last podcast episode. Tradition, combined with the comfort of the status quo, forms a plausible excuse for not changing. And as a result, the learning culture does not evolve or becomes stagnant for both learners and educators. That's the way we have always done it is also a characteristic of a fixed mindset. Here's a great quote. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Reflect on that, everybody. Now let's take a look at a few specific elements that impact the learning culture of educational systems and schools, where that's the way we've always done it, might inhibit growth and progress. So here's a list, everybody, and I want you to compare this to the phrase, that's the way we've always done it. So we could put into that grading. We grade based on points, arbitrary scoring guides, failing students, giving zeros, because that's the way we've always done it. Homework. Even though research has shown that homework before grade 8 has little to no academic benefit, more often than not, students are given homework because that's what we do in education, or that's what was done to us. Observation and evaluation. Think about this. Do we observe and evaluate everyone through an equity lens? Do we make sure that everyone is getting that essential feedback? Or do we just keep doing what we've always done, or that's stipulated in different states or countries because that's the way we've always done it? Another, teaching to the test. I like this one, professional development. Think about our nice little PD days, one and done, drive by, which, by the way, the research says does not lead to sustained change. But when we think about PD and herding cattle or herding cats into those sessions, why do we do it that way? Because that's the way we've always done it. Hiring practices, budget preparation, purchasing decisions. Again, hiring, budget, purchasing. Often we keep doing the same thing and rolling it over because that's the way we've always done it. Internet filtering. Oh my goodness. Think about a lot of the filters. I see so many things that are blocked in certain districts that are unblocked in others. Why? That's the way we've always done it. Banning or restricting device use. Prioritizing, now this could rub some people the wrong way, but hey, we all know if this is our reality or not. Prioritizing athletics over academics, other extracurriculars, and the arts. Athletics often gets prioritized because that's built in the culture of that's the way we've always done it. And another element of learning culture that rarely changes is classroom and learning space design. Why do we put desks in rows? Why do we have bells? Because that's the way we've always done it. Oh, I hate to break it to everybody. In the real world, that's not the school world, there aren't really desks in rows and there are not bells. So the list that I shared is not exhaustive by any means, but it does provide many opportunities for reflection on whether or not these traditional aspects of education are still persuasive and have remained unchanged. If we continue to do what we've always done in education, then the chances are we will continue to get what we have always gotten. We can ill afford to accept this outcome as changes to the current and future world of work that are inherent in this AI age, this information economy. They demand different and better. My point is that the focus should be on taking a critical lens to traditional practices and determine if the way in which they are being implemented is actually in the best interests of a vibrant and prosperous learning culture. Changes are being made in schools across the world. However, it's vital that we don't become immune to the fact that that's the way we've always done it mindset might be entrenched elsewhere in a school, district, or organization beyond our line of sight. As a principal, I dealt with this very issue in the form of the director of IT. My first director of IT. The second one, awesome. I'm not going to mince my words here. The individual in this position was nasty to kids and teachers alike. He was also combative with building administration and got away with it as he was empowered for all the wrong reasons by the superintendent at the time. When it came to internet filtering, he lived by, that's the way we've always done it. Over time, my colleagues and I worked with the new superintendent to bring about change to his fixed mindset. He eventually left for another district, and we were fortunate to hire a new person for the position who embodied a growth mindset in this area. And, God bless Ron Watson. He's still there. I mean, he's been in my former district for so long. But he did not live by the most dangerous phrase in education. And that's when we became one of the first schools in the country to go bring your own device. We were allowed students to submit persuasive responses that get websites unblocked. There were so many amazing things that, because Ron had the right mindset and didn't live by the dangerous phrases, we were able to create a more vibrant culture of learning for our students. The bottom line is that concerted efforts should always be made to improve existing structures and practices that impact culture. Just because it worked in the past does not mean it is an effective practice in its current form today. All educators now have access to a vast amount of research and evidence that can lead to practical changes to the items that I listed earlier in this podcast. There's also a plethora of practical strategies that have led to evidence of improved outcomes that are available with a simple internet search, and also in recently published books. That's the way I've always done it. Is not always in the best interests of the learners we serve or the educators that need support to grow and innovate with purpose. The bottom line here, and I love saying the bottom line, is to create a thriving culture. And to do this, some hard battles against tradition need to be fought. Keep in mind, we are impacted by experience. We often teach the way we're taught. We lead the way we were led. And we become so comfortable or afraid that these phrases, such as, "That's the way I've always done it," "These kids can't," "We tried that already," "It's not my job," "They're just not motivated," "That won't work for our students," or "That won't work for our school or our culture." What we have to do is look in the mirror and ask ourselves, how can we embrace small shifts to practice done consistently that are going to help us do what we should already be doing better? Don't let phrases, words, peer pressure, tradition hold you back from your potential. I shared the following in Disruptive Thinking in Our Classrooms. Chase growth, not perfection. The dangerous phrases in education inhibit us from growing. And every single one of us, regardless of years of experience, regardless of what we've accomplished, can grow our practice. Well, everybody, I want to thank you again for listening to this episode of Unpacking the Backpack. And, I did give a call out to one of my books, Disruptive Thinking in Our Classrooms. It's available on Amazon. And what I did was I've put evidence libraries in there. So there's an appendix with links to different forms of evidence that can show you what it could look like. So if you're looking for a great summer read, well, maybe not great, but a nice quick summer read, practical, that combats the phrase, "That's the way we've always done it," check out Disruptive Thinking in Our Classrooms on Amazon. Everybody, as always, appreciate what all of you do. Keep making a difference.